Hey everyone,
All
welcome
right.
to day two for the event. The event, obviously, as you know, is insights on future of top 10 sectors that are going to shape the future. This is an event for VCs, any investors of all kinds, founders, and enthusiasts alike. Yesterday, we had Dr. Malpani, who gave a wonderful presentation on how you should delight your investors and how you should think about and structure your fundraising process. Today, we have a very special guest with us, an advisor to Eaton Ventures, assistant professor at Ramapur College of New Jersey, a pioneer and innovator in blockchain and the convergence of blockchain with AI and its related use and application in supply chain, education, and social tokens. We have Dr. Nikhil Verma today, and I'll leave the mic to Dr. Verma to introduce himself and get.
Thank you, Suraj. Hello, everyone. I am, I would say I'm an enthusiast. All these things that Suraj just mentioned are just very kind words for, from his side. However, I just learned every day. Blockchain is so interesting that when I got into it, the first time when people were talking about blockchain, it was all about Bitcoin. However, when I started getting deeper into it and started looking at the business side of blockchain, I have stopped talking Bitcoin and Ethereum. Of course, they're interesting, and I have a small lecture whenever I teach blockchain, but I mostly look at this whole phenomena of decentralization and how this is going to change our lives, how things are going to be so different from what they are. And in that context, I started exploring a very interesting area which has been there for quite some time, and that is open innovation. And open innovation was first introduced, this term was first coined by a Berkeley professor, Henry Chesborough. And, this was one of the, like, a big term that came into being. A lot of organizations started looking at what open innovation is, how they could start leveraging open innovation to be able to do amazing things. Now, since I am a professor, I always have this tendency of not just jumping to the topic, but at least giving you some kind of a context. So if you already know about open innovation, this might just be redundant. But if you don't know what I'm talking about in the context of open innovation, this is a very good visual, which is directly taken from his paper, which talks about the difference between closed innovation and open innovation. When we have a little funnel over here, you have different research projects that go inside an organization. So the boundary of the organization is all the research projects are within the boundary of the organization, and then there is some kind of a filter. And then from research, things go to fruition and they start getting into development, and then eventually the organization puts them to market. Okay. However, what's happening in the open innovation space is very, very interesting. You have research happening inside the organization. You have research happening outside the organization. You have research happening in the boundary of the organization as well, which means the organization is working with somebody else. This is something happening completely outside. Okay. And then this research finds its way inside, and sometimes it is the organization that goes into takes this research into their existing market. Sometimes this research is spun off from the organization, and you have new companies which is outside the organizational boundaries, and that kind of opens up new markets. Now, all this is very nice to hear, like, a more complicated picture, which is directly taken from from their presentation, is this, where you get to see that there are new markets that get opened up. There are new innovators that come into play. which is like, if I just tell you that, oh my God, this is so nice, right? All of us can work together, irrespective of who you are, which company you work for, and then we all are able to capture new markets. Sounds too good, right? There are many companies that have jumped onto this. This is just a very small slice of things. Procter and Gamble has Connect and Develop. They have some open innovation projects that they define here. And if you are able to give a solution to their open innovation project, they would be, there are different kinds of models that they can work with you. Unilever does the same with open innovation. BMW Startup Garage also says, oh, we'll help you start cars. BMW is a car company, by the way. So it's quite interesting that the way they are all talking about open innovation. Yeah, there are open innovation and collaboration platforms. Yeah, Suraj will be talking about a platform right after this, and it is a collaboration platform. Yeah, what do these collaboration platforms provide? Yeah, they provide you an avenue to get external engagement, right? It is a platform, so anybody can come in. Of course, those coming and going, coming into the platform is essentially controlled by something, right? So you will be able to get some kind of an external engagement in this case. Like, I suppose I'm writing a book, and I have an open collaboration platform. I can have some graphic designers come in and say, you know what, I can help you with this. Yeah. These platforms also provide some kind of incentives, and also help in prioritizing ideas. So this is again Suraj's venture, which Suraj is trying to do, where are you all there? Can you all hear me? If there is a problem.
Hello.
Suraj, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, but the screen sharing is not on yet.
But is the
The
is the
presentation
what not
has,
on here?
or the presentation.
Oh, the presentation just froze on us, eh?
Yeah,
I don't know what's happening here, because just give me one more second. Can I just log out and log in?
yeah, absolutely.
I'm just going to start sharing my screen first. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, it's you can see the screen.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'll just hold on to that. I'll turn on my camera at the end. People have already seen me speak, so at least they can relate to me as a person. So this is not a robot talking to you. So what I just want to make sure that I cover this without any interruption with the presentation, and then I'll turn on my camera. Okay. So what I was talking about is that most of the open innovation platform provide an opportunity for you to be able to engage with external partners, external people. Yeah, they also help. They provide that strategic intelligence to help you prioritize your ideas. So suppose you are going to work with someone, this platform has the ability to get you like, yeah, you know what, you should work with these three people. Okay, in a very agnostic manner, not driven by economics, but driven by the whole philosophy of trying to get you the right thing. Yeah, and Suraj is building a platform, or in fact has a first cut of a platform which is able to do that. Yeah. Uh, Ideally, a platform should have these 6 features. It should be engaging, it should be easy to use, it should be transparent, it should be flexible, adaptable, so on and so forth. If you don't, what's going to happen is, if you have a huge learning curve, that would from getting into onto a platform where you could collaborate with other parties, right? The other thing is that if you don't trust, if the platform doesn't tell you that, hey, you know what, I'm not driven by economics, I'm driven by the whole idea of trying to provide value to you, then you would be like, yes, I trust this platform more, right? And yes, I am willing to do business in this platform. Yeah. So these are what open collaboration platforms and open innovation and collaboration platforms would provide. Now, when we get into the next stage, okay, when we look at open innovation, okay, one big problem with open innovation, maybe collaboration less, but open innovation, collaboration for innovation can have a problem, is intellectual property. Who owns the intellectual property? Now, when we have something inside a firm, it is almost always that the firm takes ownership of the intellectual property. When we have two firms, yeah, it is a shared asset. And when you have a firm which is kind of trying to do something for the user community, then it does spin off, and in most of the cases, like things like Creative Commons or open source is what, or sometimes even a licensed company is what they are able to spawn out. But even then, there is a problem with open collaboration. You see, there is one thing common over here. The common thing is firm. Yeah. What happens when we have innovation which is peer-to-peer? Suppose all of us over here in the meeting today decide on and come to something very interesting, and we want to find out who owns the intellectual property. It would be very difficult for a platform, okay, in the current state at least, to be able to facilitate that. And that becomes a big issue for all of us, or it is a demotivator for us to be able to do open innovation. Right? You go into a company, big company's platform, and you do open innovation, you collaborate with the company, right? The chances are that the big company would definitely acknowledge you, definitely give you some part of the innovation, but would, because of its clout, it will be able to hold a bigger percentage of that of the intellectual property for themselves. They'll say, hey, you know what? I gave you a place to work. I gave you internet. I gave you this platform. I gave you that. So yes, I'll give you 2% of this product that you actually designed, by the way. I'm not saying all of them are crooks, but you can see what I'm trying to tell you here is it is a power, it becomes a power issue. So at one point we are saying we want to be open. We want to make sure everybody is the same. Your intellectual property is the same as mine if you contribute equally. However, that is not the case. That is not the case. Okay. The problem is who owns the license. Okay. How do you give the right share? What is the kind of delta that you've put into this particular innovation, and how do we acknowledge it, right? If sometimes we need to have some kind of a mechanism to be able to monitor what is going on with the product, right? If you don't kind of open it up to the community, and it becomes a big challenge, right? If the product is not very expensive, suppose the product is worth like, maybe you make a fidget spinner which has a very different kind of a structure. Yeah. How do you control that, right? It is very difficult to kind of see or manage innovation which is not very expensive and where you are going to be doing business on economies of scale. Then you have intermediaries who end up, so basically what you have is you have a lawyer who's going to make sure that all this intellectual property is kind of stored with them, and then all these owners have some kind of a contract with them, and when there is any kind of revenue, then the lawyer or the bank or whoever kind of divides this particular revenue amongst the different parties, right? And that becomes a very, very tricky part. Then the question is, who owns the license, right? So this is a vicious circle that we get into, and it probably is one of the biggest demotivators for open innovation. Okay, not everything is bound by economics, but when something that you create has an economic value and you don't get that, you can't be an altruist, right? And that is the problem over here, and that is what I feel blockchain will be able to solve for us. Okay, what happens with the blockchain is every single transaction that happens will be recorded in the chain. Yeah, every single thing can be managed in the blockchain and can be recorded in the chain. Once it is recorded in the chain, what happens is now there is no way your ownership can be denied. And now we are adding more things on top of that. We are going to be adding smart contracts on top of that. So what happens is every time you build a product, right, there is a smart contract which is written, which says this is the component of the product that you've added. Okay, this is the economic value that you've added. Okay, now just to kind of give you a very high level view, of course, I'm making a few products, few research projects in this particular area specific to certain things, okay, which maybe, at a later conference, I will be able to speak to you guys. But what exactly you have is you are able to define ownership of an intellectual property by means of a smart contract. And nobody can change this, right? So suppose you're writing a book and you've written 2 chapters of the book, first 2 chapters of the book, right? And the next few chapters are written by other people. You can technically write smart contracts for the first 2 chapters. And whenever the book is sold, whatever is the economic value of the first 2 chapters is what you would automatically get without having an intermediary, essentially. Yeah, then you have different kinds of trigger mechanisms, which is written. And again, this is a very community driven thing. So, open innovation, I believe, is going to be successful only when it is community driven rather than centralized. And that is why a decentralized mechanism like blockchain is going to have a huge impact on open innovation. So assuming that suppose a book gets sold, or it just triggers a it has a trigger, and then that trigger would start creating, executing all the different smart contracts, right? And it just does self-execution. So it's not that you have to give a invoice or just somehow learn that somebody sold your book. Okay, and this is just not about a book. This could be multitude of things. It could be a part of a painting. It could be a little economic value that you added onto something which is pretty big. And even then, being a small player, you can still be protected, okay, without anybody trying to take away anything from the ownership perspective of that particular asset. Okay, now what I envision as to how this all thing can be set up is the following. Okay, in an organization, okay, to be able to have open innovation, we have to go beyond that smart contract. So the smart contract model is just the initial thing that we have. We have to get into an open network enterprise, okay, which is where you have every organization, yeah, which are networked and are built on some kind of contract, so that the economics would flow from one organization to the other. Okay, and Suraj did mention about artificial intelligence. So once we get into the next stage with smart contract, what we are going to have is we are going to have autonomous agents. Okay, so now you've made something. You are a part of an open innovation. Now you actually build an autonomous agent. Okay, the autonomous agent is going to go and look for best value for your product across different platforms and say, hey, you know what? This is exactly what most innovation platforms do, but this would be much more wider. It will go and find out what works best for you, negotiate something on your behalf based on certain set of parameters that you've defined, okay, and be able to get things done for you. So it's like, suppose I'll give you a little scenario if it's very difficult to imagine. Suppose you have a smart car, yeah, and you want to go from point A to point B, yeah. The smart car would have certain kind of integrations done, assuming that integration is done with your calendar, yeah. Now the smart contract would go from point A to point B, okay, and going from point A to point B, it would negotiate based on some kind of tokens to be able to get you to the priority line and get there faster, okay. This is based on your calendar, because your calendar is telling that you need to get there in 30 minutes. Now on the way, the smart contract just the calendar meeting gets cancelled, and the and the agent discovers that. What it is going to do is it is going to renegotiate your arrival time to be a standard time, and whatever is the bonus or whatever is the extra money that it paid through its wallet, it would just get back. Okay, this is the kind of stuff that we are talking about when we talk about autonomous agents. And the next thing, which would be pretty wild, and hopefully someday we would just have organizations that would have software and shareholders, and they would automatically work and collaborate with each other independently, without any kind of of course it will be driven by AI, and I don't mean to say that AI is going to replace humans, but it would have a majority of its functionality that it would do on its own. Okay, and this is what I envision to be the ultimate state of open innovation. However, I feel that if we are able to get to this state, which is the autonomous agent in open innovation, what we could do as the small guy is we are able to make products. Okay, we are able to be protected by the smart contract, and then we have autonomous agents that go out and find out what would be the best that we could get out of our product, depending on what the open innovation community thinks. This could be how good we can do for the society. It does not necessarily have to be an economic value. Okay, but what I am trying to emphasize over here is that blockchains create decentralization, and decentralization brings in a lot of benefits that we as people have not seen. We talk about peer-to-peer, but this peer-to-peer, even at this point of time, is not exactly a pure peer-to-peer, right? The peer-to-peer communication that we have is actually mediated by someone, and that someone actually happens to be much stronger than the two people who are in the peers here, right? Blockchain will provide us that environment where these peer-to-peer will be a pure peer-to-peer. And there would be no intermediary who becomes the big guy here, the big Amazon, the big Google, the big Twitter. But we stay who we are, and we own the things that we make, and not we make things and somebody else owns it. Thank you very much, and that is the end of my presentation. I'm open for any questions. I'm going to turn off my presentation. I'm going to turn on my camera. Questions, concerns, ideas?
Yeah, I would encourage the audience, to raise hands, come on stage, ask questions, or just type it into the chat box. I guess my question is related to this topic that you're speaking about. Are you aware of any current projects that are basically handling open innovation through blockchain right now at the moment? Is there anything live that's already doing some of the things that you discussed?
Well, Suraj, disintermediation and decentralization is something that we are talking in a big way, but I have not seen any commercial products as yet. There is definitely quite a few things that we are doing in the research space. There are a few products that, in fact, there is one product that I'm working on right now, which is in this particular space of decentralization, and also creating a community around innovators for intellectual contribution, mostly in the context of education. So it's in the edtech space, but I haven't seen anything, at least in the industry yet. I think Ayush has a question. What are your thoughts of blockchain for cyber security? Ayush, can you be more specific? Because cyber security and blockchain, of course, blockchain is a secure system, and with the advent of quantum computing, people have been talking about the blockchain security being broken. That's a different discussion altogether. Cyber security, over what I would rather speak more on, to be able to make sure your privacy is protected, if that is what you're trying to imply by cyber security. If you have if you want to protect who you are, you can hold the information. Something like data storage. Okay. Yes, there are some solutions in the blockchain space which talk about data storage, and mostly driven by the whole philosophy of the BitTorrent kind of a model, where you have different of the data information stored in different nodes, and Filecoin is one of them, and even Brave browser is based out of them. So there are quite a few things which are working on privacy and data protection, but in fact data storage rather, but not exactly cyber security. That's a different domain. Any other questions? I'm sorry, something went wrong with my camera. I would have loved to interact through the camera, but it seems like it's just acting up on me today.
So, interesting. Uh, so, are you aware of any AI meets blockchain projects where you have these autonomous agents?
Well, I am very well aware of one project which fell flat on its face because of a different kind of an issue, which is an autonomous process. Of course, it was not an AI powered, which was the Ethereum project at the DAO, which had a bit of an issue because of a flaw in their implementation, where there was one person who was able to cancel and withdraw a lot of money, and that is one of the things that we always discuss, to be able to make sure that people understand that we should not rush into these kind of solution. This is a gradual process. We can't just get into autonomous mode tomorrow. Okay, we have to start getting the data sets. Based on that data set, we have to use our AI engines to be able to see if we are able to get more optimal. Okay, we are able to be more efficient as a society, not replace the society. The AI is not going to replace human intelligence. The AI is just there to make us more efficient. That is what I firmly believe in. If we start talking about societies where AI is going to do all the things for us, then we have a serious problem. That is when a small bug in the software can destroy us. We don't want to get there.
Yeah, and when you really speak about AI, it's a probabilistic thing. It's not right 100% of the time. When AI says yes, it says yes like a percentage of the time, and it says no a percentage of the time. And with any specific AI model where you're deploying it to a real world solution, for example, self driving cars, uh, people are going to treat it 20 or 30 times worse if the AI is wrong 0.7% of the time, because here it means the loss of a life. Even though the statistics may tell you that a person is more likely to crash a car, probably that might be at 1 or 1.5%, but you're still not going to adopt AI because it's not like 99.9999% accurate. So these are some ethical issues also that come into picture, and this is why adoption may not really be at the level it could be, given the technology we have, because of this whole like probabilistic thinking that a lot of people are not accustomed to. If a machine is wrong, it's worse than a person being wrong. That's what I.
And also, we've been talking a lot about other things in AI. See, AI also has a transparency issue. AI has a lot of other things. How the AI, the prediction is completely based on the kind of data sets you use to train it. So ethics in AI is slowly becoming a big area. I don't want to diverge that the discussion to that side, but I just want to kind of emphasize that that's why I always keep saying AI is basically meant to make us more optimal, but not replace us. If we have a system, or if we envision a system where AI would be a complete replacement of people, uh, it would be nothing is impossible, but it would be difficult for us to have something like that. And if something like that is envisioned in the current times, we would have all these kind of mishaps that happened with the Ethereum DAO project, and many other projects that we've seen in the past, where there would be some kind of racial bias based on AI, because the AI system was not trained for people of color, and it started making all kinds of recommendations to enforcement people about people of color having not been trained by people of color. So we don't want to get into that space now. That is only going to give us a wrong picture of what AI is meant for. And artificial intelligence is just there to help us, not replace us. I will always keep saying that. That is one thing which I very firmly believe, and at least in my lifetime, I don't expect artificial intelligence to replace me.
Makes sense. Thank you, Dr. Varma, for a wonderful presentation. Lots to think about, a lot to digest as well. Not a topic that I was acquainted with. Learned a lot about how you can use blockchain, and how AI may power a future of blockchain with open innovation. So that's pretty interesting. A lot of the scenarios you spoke about, yes, encountered them. Always thought there should be a more efficient way to navigate those situations. Hopefully, blockchain comes along and is able to serve us. I think now we would like to transition, from you to, we have a few more interesting things to share today, including some of the research that was conducted. So I think now I would like to invite Mr. Inder on stage. Uh, he's basically the founder of NextWeave, which is a personalized personalized marketing solution, which helps you personalize and make your marketing interactive and scale it to millions of people. So I would invite him to stage.
Suraj, I will be in the crowd, and I will join in a bit. I just have a meeting, so I'll join back in like 15 minutes.
Sure.
Hello, Mr. Virdi. How are you?
Hi, Nikhil. I was just hearing about your entire delivery, and I think quite an interesting topic that we've been discussing.
Thank you, Inder. Thank you. I'll see you in a bit. I just have a meeting to go to, and I'll join back quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Suraj. I think you've given a very kind introduction about what we're doing. I would like to probably take about 10 to 15 minutes at best, where I'm going to be taking you through a brief glimpse of what we're doing. And after that, I would want both of you guys to ask certain questions because we are also fairly new. So any inputs, any questions about how it works or not, I'll be happy to answer that. And Suraj, if you want me to cover anything specific, just let me know after the presentation is done. I'll just share my screen. I hope my screen is visible to everyone. Okay, so I'll start with a brief story explaining why we built this, and then I'll explain what is the solution that we built and how we're expanding it now. So the whole story started with me having a discussion with one of my clients who wanted to engage his users better because he found that most of the early customers that he was getting, they were leaving the platform because they probably got a glimpse of the platform but could not really figure out whether that platform is the best for them or not. And this was a gaming platform. And as we all know, if you're not winning the game, we most likely don't play the game as much. So what we did was that we started identifying what kind of mistakes are being made by users while they're playing the game. And we started sending them emails which would explain them specifically the mistakes that they've done. That certainly worked for us because about 40% of the people that we reached out to now started coming back to the platform and started making deposits, started paying on the platform, and so on and so forth. This triggered a conversation where we started discussing how can we stretch the realm of personalization, where I can explain the user the mistake the same way I would sit with someone and explain the mistake. And then those conversations led to a point where we started thinking that how can we serve personalized video to every individual who's making a mistake. And then the story went into a direction where we started figuring out how that could be done, what kind of technologies can be used, how that experiences could also be interactive so that the user can engage with that particular experience. So long story short, what we made right now is a platform which can serve a personalized video to every prospect of yours or every user of yours, where you can not just change the name of the individual, but you can also have their brand logos inserted. If it's a game, you can have numbers inserted which signify what level they are at or what kind of benefits they can get if they cross a different level or something like that. And now this can be done at scale where even if you've got millions of users, our platform can go ahead and generate these in practically real time. The other thing that we did was that once we started serving these experiences, we noticed that more than 60% of them would watch the entire experience just because they knew that it's personalized and there was a name at the beginning of the video, or there was a logo at the beginning of the video which represented their company. So many of our clients came back to us and said that why not make these experiences interactive, so that while he's watching the video, he can also interact with elements in the video, and maybe buy now buttons can be added so that he can buy the product, or book a meeting options can be given within the experience itself, so that he could go and engage with the content. And this became interesting because now we started comparing ourselves with other platforms like AR, VR, which were meant to be more engaging and interactive. And now we could do that over a video itself. So this will give you a glimpse of what I'm referring to. Let's say there are two different individuals who've been checking out two different products. So the platform can go ahead and plug in products that they had seen, or plug into the recommendation engine of the platform and pull out assets that they're most likely to buy and insert that into a video experience, which makes them feel as if this video was made just for me. And now I can think of engaging with some of the elements and maybe even making a purchase. So if you notice both of the shots, the name, the products, and the action buttons have been all modified based on what kind of product they have been recommended. And what we've done is that we made a platform which makes it as easy as uploading your media file, which is the base, then adding the interaction on top of that, which is very similar to how you make presentations. You drag and drop elements onto your slide, or the way you use Canva. And the interesting thing that we've done is that once someone has added an element which is like a text or an image, they can go ahead and turn that into a variable and then connect that into your CRM or your marketing automation platform to dynamically plug in those parameters and personalize these experiences for each and every individual. Now, I'm not sure how many of you have seen Bandersnatch, but there was a very interesting uptake for that kind of an experience just because you could add an interactive element to video. And if most of you have seen that experience on Netflix, it was more like this experience where irrespective of what choices you took, it would converge to the same ending. Now that's an element that we've added into our package as well. Where let's say if you're a hair care brand and you want to diagnose what kind of hair your prospect has got within the video itself, because probably they're a little shy in sharing these details over a form or over a conversation. You can have that entire conversation or an entire diagnosis or an entire sales pitch mapped onto a video conversation. So depending on the answers that he is giving, you can have different endings to the video which will be more relevant for your audience. This is just a glimpse of an experiment that we've done, where we ran with some progressive brands who wanted to get into personalization. And what we've seen is that the experiments that we did were A/B tests, where we took in about 15% of their audience, and then we ran campaigns with them. And if you notice the numbers, you'll find that even though we were just addressing 15% of the audience, we managed to get almost twice the number of clicks in the campaign. And because the experiences were personalized, the number of unsubscriptions were also significantly lesser. So this essentially gave the brand a 15x jump in the engagement that it was getting on his emails. And now what happened after this particular experiment was, once we ran 2 email campaigns like this, the third one also witnessed a higher open rate, which is very rare to see. But the feedback that we got was that the users of that particular brand were now excited to see what is the next interactive experience that we're going to be serving over email. So this is what we're heading to right now. We're trying to connect experiences in different channels where we'll have a personalized image inserted into your email body, which will be connected to a personalized video, which could be hosted on your landing page, which could be on Shopify or WordPress or something like that. And the whole idea is that very often we personalize just a part of the journey, and then the conversation drops off in between. But what if you could customize or say individualize the entire journey based on what we had seen in the past or what the user had done in the last interaction or what kind of products he's been looking at? Then the whole journey is going to be much more synchronous in terms of what he wants to achieve. And also, it does give much better business outcomes as well. In terms of our expansion set, what we realize is that most people are still going to keep their customer data in CRMs and CDPs. Most people are still going to deliver communication using marketing automation platforms. So what we're trying to do is become a piece in the puzzle, which takes in data from different points of the whole ecosystem, and then serves those back to the ecosystem so that they can do their job better, along with our available plugins. So yeah, that's pretty much what we do. We're obviously going ahead and trying to understand how sales and marketing teams can use this better. We're coming up with some Gmail plugins which could be made available to audiences so that they can send personalized emails by plugging in these experiences. And there's a long journey that we have to take. But yeah, that's where we are right now. And I would love to have some inputs from you guys, any conversations, any questions about this particular product. I'll switch back to video.
That was awesome, Inder. Hey, can we have questions for Inder and any questions you guys might have around the topics of personalization and interactivity as they relate to marketing? Because this is now a hot topic.
Can I ask something?
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is Nikhil here. Actually, this is of a topic of great interest to me. It's amazing product. Just to let you know that my PhD dissertation was on customization, service design customization using machine learning, and one thing which I just want to know is you are talking about customization or personalization rather of this particular thing. Have you also looked at a higher degree of customization wherein a person's information that you get with interaction or from the person would also add a second degree of personalization in that content that you're making besides the name and information that the person is seeking? Like, I'm just going
Yeah.
to give you a very high level thing. Suppose it's like, of course we don't want to market to kids, but assume that it is a child, right? So the there would be a music that would be playing which would be different than a music that would be played to somebody else. Like, we use AI to kind of generate even more higher degrees of customization. That's essentially what I was trying to ask.
Absolutely. So, in fact, when we started the journey, we were trying to give the full piece, right from helping understand your audiences to defining what should be served to different audiences, to running the personalization piece, and also all the delivery piece. So, the initial set that we had, it also had elements of AWS where we would plug it into Pinpoint. We will use Amazon Personalize to do multiple things. But then we realized that we'll probably be spreading ourselves too thin if we get into too many categories, because there are marketing automation platforms which are already working towards ensuring that the delivery is optimized. There are CDPs which are gathering data. There are recommendation engines which are already suggesting that what kind of background should be served for what kind of products or what kind of audience segments, so that they get the maximum conversion. So the way that we've built our platform is that you can practically have any element personalized, right from text to images to the buttons to the color of the buttons, the font that you're using. And very soon we'll also have audio insertions being personalized as well. But we won't be getting into the aspect of doing the machine learning or the AI piece ourselves, considering there are enough platforms available that we can plug into using our REST APIs.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that can be used as a service. Yeah. What happens is, this is one thing that I actually, my experiment that I did during my PhD was I tried two control groups, two different experiments. One with the high, expensive car buying and a cheaper car buying. And when I use the whole mechanics of statistics to be able to do the segmentation, targeting, and positioning model, and then measure the satisfaction level of the customer, and I use machine learning to be able to give a more customized, individualized model, I was able to see a big delta between the segmentation model and the machine learning model.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was that was a lot of fun to see, right? Because generally when we talk about service design and dynamic service design, which essentially, in many ways you're doing, actually now I'm actually happy to see your product, because the next time I talk about my dissertation, I will be able to point to your product and see, this is something which I was trying to suggest, but they've already made something. So, of course my dissertation was good 5 years back. So
Absolutely. And I would
that
love to
means
see more examples in terms of what you're trying to achieve. So the irony is
I
that
was mostly
a couple of months back. Yeah, go ahead.
no, I was mostly focusing on the information aspect. So information as a service, whenever information as a service is provided, and we use machine learning, what are the information components that we need to pick out for a particular community is essentially what I was trying to do there.
Correct. In fact, I'll touch upon a couple of interesting conversations that I recently had. So 3 months back, we were having a discussion with a design school, and I had a very enriching discussion with the dean of the college as well in terms of where this can spread into, depending on what choices you make. You can either turn this into a beautiful design tool, which can then percolate into schools and colleges, where presentations might become passe. They can make videos and start explaining something with interactive video, have the storytelling piece much more enriched. Or you can take it into an enterprise direction where you start working with brands like the food tech companies, the martech companies, and see how you can plug it very close to their ecosystem where both of you work together, where they focus on marketing automation, you focus on content automation, and you have a common machine learning layer which is feeding in data to both of you guys.
Right, right, right.
So, to be honest, right now we've got our foot in both the boats because we're trying to test which one's going to pick up faster. But yeah, the enterprise
Of
side
course.
is where I think we might grow a little faster. The design side is where we still have a long evolution to go for people to start adopting video to a level where they are right now. Teachers are still going to talk about how they can use presentations in the classroom. Video in the classroom is still going to take some time to come.
Yes,
But yeah,
yes,
I would
that's
love
true.
to interact with more of the stuff that you're doing and see how we could probably blend into models.
Sure, sure. I'm mostly, of course, there is some kind of a convergence on things, but my focus is mostly on the blockchain space, which is the decentralization
Mm.
model, to be able to use that transactional data to be able to do all kinds of business processes. But I really like your product. It's definitely a product bound to be successful. I can tell you that it's a very, very good product.
Thank you so much, Nikhil. Nice to see that confidence.
Thanks, Sundar. I think now let's take a nice 9 minute networking break for the event. So I'm just going to open the tables back up for everyone to get seated, talk amongst each other. We'll be back after 9 minutes, and we'll start the remaining remaining research reports. So let's look forward to that. See you guys. Please feel free to network. Hey guys, welcome back. Now let's move on to some very exciting research conducted by our team of analysts. First up, we have Karthik, who is going to speak about data science and AI industry.
Hello, Suraj. I'll just present my screen. Hold on a second. So, is my screen visible to you?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's start. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you all here. I'm Karthik, and I will be presenting about the artificial industry, artificial intelligence industry. So, what is artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence in itself is a very broad term. In the simplest language, it is a machine's ability to mimic the cognitive functions that associate with human brain or human mind. So, and the industry associated with the artificial intelligence, and we put where we put use of artificial intelligence in the industries is known as artificial intelligence, industrial artificial intelligence. So let's start. So why artificial intelligence? You must be wondering why we are listening about artificial intelligence. So let me explain. When I say it can mimic, the machines can mimic the cognitive process of the humans, that gets us to the point that almost everything that the human does can be done by a machine. Like it can improve the efficiency, it can reduce the manpower. Along with this, these are the four areas across the value chain where AI can create value, from R&D to the deployable robots in the production line. Everything can be improved with less manpower and with more efficiency. As Indrajit sir mentioned, that we can use AI for targeted sales and marketing and for enhancing user experience. These are the reason why the industry uses AI. Along with this, not only it provides value to the industry, it also has a good economic impact on the industry. Like AI has the potential to add up about 957 billion to the India's GDP. Along with it, as the global AI race is going on, the and eventually the AI is the thing that will lead to the global tech domination. As you can see, that the startup in Indian startup culture, the amount of startup on the basis of technology has the most number of startup belonging to AI sector, followed by IoT and analytics. So as you can see, there's a rise in AI based startup due to the fact that AI is the new big thing in tech right now. As you can see, the what was internet in the 90s is AI currently doing. So in 10 to 50 years, AI will be ready to create a good impact on the industry. Moving forward to what AI, artificial intelligence, offers as a solution are the four things that have been mentioned here. The machine learning. Machine learning is basically the study of computer algorithms to improve the experience. The natural language processing is the comprehension of languages to machine, and then machine takes actions as per those voice signals or the language. Image processing is a part of pattern recognition that includes the recognition of patterns and regularities in data. Speech recognition is the ability of machine or program to identify words and phrases. So these are the four services that machine learning is providing currently, like automation or as you can say, the automated robots, and those all things come under the machine learning. Natural language processes include the services that we provide to the users like chatbot and everything. Moving forward to the global artificial intelligence market, currently the global intelligence market, AI market, is currently rising, and it has been rising since 2015. So as you can see, it is rising at a CAGR of around 42.2%, and it is expected to reach around 126 billion by 2025. You must be wondering that there would be an impact of COVID-19 on the AI. So can you guess what would be the impact on AI industry? Means would the value will go up or it will go down? Any guesses? So just please let me know. I cannot see the chat screen right now.
Absolutely. Let me see if anyone has asked any questions. No, not so.
So I'll tell you. So you must be wondering that COVID-19 must have negatively affected the AI industry, but that is not the case. The AI industry is working better than it was previous back then, because now the people have realized that it has a lot of potential in healthcare sector too, and the companies which were already working in this field are now also working in the healthcare sectors. So what are the market drivers for these growth? As you can see, the growth is very significant. So as of now, the things those are contributing to the growth are the automation that has been happening in the manufacturing industry, and the R&D that is happening in healthcare and tech sectors. So these are the two big things that are contributing most to the development of AI industry. Moving to the segmentation of artificial intelligence by use cases, as of now, artificial intelligence has most application in video surveillance, networking, and IT operation, and followed by voice and speech recognition. And the use cases do vary according to the countries. Like the countries who are developed, as the America, the federal government is investing more in war weapons or in the security services and things like that. While in India, the country who are being developed, they are investing in user experience like voice recognition and speech recognition. So this is the factor that is contributing to the numbers over here. By technology, the most contribution is to machine learning, followed by natural language processing. The rise in national language processing owes to the government policy. The government of India and along with US are working on better user experiences for their portal and for their services too. So there is a good rise in the natural language processing based services, so that government can leverage the use of AI. Moving forward about the AI investment segmentation of AI industry. So as of now, talking about the investment by tech giants and other companies, the most amount of investments are being made in the internal corporate investment. That means R&D. Most of the companies like big Google and Tesla and other companies are spending heavily in research and development, because right now there is a race in AI is going on, and the one who emerges at the end will lead to the dominance in tech industry. The other 6 to 9%, 2 to 3% is due to the merger and acquisition of the companies, and 6 to 9% is by the venture capitalists and private equity. So that suggests that is because as you can see, there's a rise in investment in AI-based startup, which reflects the funding by VCs and PEs. Moving forward, can you guess? As you can see, that China is right now leading the race to AI dominance, followed by US and followed by Japan and UK. Can you guess what is the difference? What is the what is the point breaker that makes the difference between the race of this AI dominance? Any guesses? What is the factor that is making this difference?
Is it is it the hardware capability?
Actually, US is better than China in terms of funding and investments, and even in hardware, it is better. The point that is making the difference is the amount of data. So maybe we call it unethical that the government is cooperating with all the organization in China and helping them with the data sets, and it might be called as a breach of privacy because China has data of almost all the citizens over there, but they have been using this data to fund they are supplying this data to the companies over China, and that's why they have access to over 7 billion images of people over in China. So this amount of data, the proprietary data set is making all the difference. That's why China is publishing more paper. Their research is better than all the countries, and that's why they are deploying it in a better way because they're leading in terms of research. That's why they're leading in terms of development. So moving forward to characteristics of early AI adopters. So, what all are the companies or firms that are adopting AI? So, these are the 6 parameters I have figured out by research. What the companies who are adopting AI have in common, and what are the characteristics? So, first, they are digitally mature. Large tech firms like Google and Tesla, these are contributing to the research and development, so they can leverage the use of AI before any other company does. Larger businessmen like investors, they're investing heavily in AI based startups because they know there's a good chance that AI will blow AI will blow in future. Followed by adoption in core activities, the production based firms are adopting automation in their production line so that they can put out material with more efficiency and less manpower. Then other companies are focusing on growth over savings, like the new startups. They are looking forward for innovation rather than savings. So they have been doing investing funds in research and development rather than saving funds. So other than that, financial firms like Deloitte and McKinsey are looking for C-level support for AI. Like for the top executives, they have been looking for fully automated systems like hiring process, and they want to achieve a hiring process automation from the onboarding, from the interview to onboarding. Everything should be automated. They are trying to achieve that. So what are the factors that makes a successful startup? So as we have seen, what are the things that people are investing a lot in AI based startups. So if you are looking to invest in AI based startup, what should you should be looking for? So these are the 3 points I've concluded after the research of 200 plus startups. The first one being data training sets. So the most important thing that is required is the amount of data you should have. Large and proprietary data sets gives an edge to your startup, and if you are competing in this very competitive market, if you have an access to data training sets and large data training sets, then you will have an edge over your competitors because the algorithms which you will be building will be better than others. Along with that, AI and ML based talent. So the top folks are hiring the top notch talents that have been that is that has been coming out in the country. So they are willing to invest heavily in the talent. They have been hiring ML and AI based experts. So if you are in a startup, then it would be hard for you to find and fund an AI based talent. So that's why most of the startups in China were incubated inside an university. So most of the people who were working on the startups were either scholars, research scholars, or the students from the university, because they have been nurtured from the start about the AI, and they have the right talent, they have the right resources. They are contributing to most of that part, and so it is a very crucial point to assemble AI and ML based talent. Then after that, getting domain expertise. There are 500 plus companies working in video recognition and image recognition. So if you are starting off at the start and you have to compete, then it's easier to get into a new domain rather than competing in the domain that is already there in the market. Like if you can put up the use of machine learning or AI in financial service, like you can automate or just improve the insurance processes. Like if you can make the due diligence and figuring out the loan process automation, like some banks are planning on to provide the credit score using AI. So they have been working in this field. So if you can get a domain expertise, that would be a very good advantage for you. Now we'll be looking on to some startup and the companies that AI that are currently working nice. And most importantly, what I want to include here is how different these fields are and what they are working on. So like Marek and G Motors are right now working on making existing operation more efficient. Like they're working on optimizing vaccine after COVID, and the G is using AI-driven predictive maintenance to mining activities and operations. Along with it, offering new services and product to existing customers. And this part is mostly owned by the financial firms. Like top-notch financial and consulting firms are leveraging the use of AI for better user experience and for better analysis. Same as IBM and Google, even Google and Nvidia, these are contributing in AI a lot. Followed by the companies which are leading to the disruptive business model and technology, like Tesla has been working on autopilot system, which is, and it has made quite a progress in that field, and it is almost way ahead of all the competitors right now. And the other companies are right now working on facial recognition, and they have been trying to achieve maximum accuracy in that field using best data set. So this is all I have to share. So thank you so much. I'll be open to any questions. Hello.
Yeah, please ask Karthik questions. That was a wonderful presentation, Karthik, by the way.
Thank
Very,
you.
very good. Amazing. Very. I think I have a question for you.
Sure.
So, this is, like from the viewpoint of an innovator, now having done all this research on AI, what do you think? Like, let's say you were to build a startup, an AI startup, what idea would you pursue?
So if I were to build an AI-based startup, I would be getting into financial services using AI, because AI has most of its application in financial services. Like 80% of its application is in financial services, and I will be starting a startup based for easing of the process of as I mentioned, like credit score, calculating credit score, all just making the analyzing part of the consulting automated, and making in portfolio management automated. And these companies are working in this field, but right now no startups has made a much progress in this field. Companies are investing in the research and development of financial services using ML, but no startups have been doing well in this field. And so I think it's a good domain to get into, and with proper motivation, it would be great success. Okay, so next question: by when do you think India's AI market will catch up with the developing countries' process? So about India, there is a, so I would like to put on a point about AI development in India. So actually, we are lagging far behind the developed countries, because as you can see, the research here suggests that we are lagging far behind, because we have number third on the number of research papers that have been published in AI, but we are on the number 19th or 20th on the applicability of those papers. So maybe we are putting out paper research in a good amount, but the application of the research is not much. And about the implementation, the industries, and there is not much exposure to AI here for the industries and other things. That's why we'll need some time, but we'll catch up soon. Any other questions, please?
That was great, Karthik. I think we should move on to the next topic now.
Thank you so much, Suraj.
Thanks a
Wonderful job, and also big round of applause for Karthik from my side because he's been coordinating a lot of these efforts with the research and with the event as well. So Karthik, besides the presentation and besides the research itself, the coordination and the leadership that you've shown is very commendable. So
Thank
big
you so
round of
much.
applause. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Suraj, for providing us with this opportunity. And it's been really nice to connect with so many good people around here, Nikhil sir, and everyone. So thank you so much for introducing us to this opportunity.
Absolutely, and I wish everyone the best of luck with whichever direction you're going, whether that's industry, whether that's entrepreneurship, whether whatever you're doing. I hope there's something that everyone's learned from this. Super excited for the next topic. I believe the next topic is no-code developer tools.
Hello, Suraj. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud.
I'll just present my screen. Suraj, can you please confirm, is it visible? Hello.
Yes, yeah,
So I'll start. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for your attendance today. I'm Rishabh Agarwal, a computer science undergraduate at IIT Ropar. And for the next 10 minutes, I would be elaborating my research on this new trend in application development, which is low code, no code development. So without any further ado, let's just move on to the topic. Before starting, I would like to lay down the today's agenda before you. So, by the end of this presentation, you would be able to answer what actually low-code, no-code tools are. You would be able to explain what is the current market status and what are the different verticals in which this field is coming up. You would be able to identify potential startups which have the capability to become leaders in this market. And in the end, we will close this presentation with the Q&A session. So we'll begin with the first obvious question. What is low code, no code? So low code, no code are nothing but visual softwares which allow development by citizen developers, which can be as easy as drag and drop applications and connecting them together, and voila, your application is ready. In this new paradigm of programming, drag and drop of application components replaces classical lines of coding. And the main objective of low code, no code platforms is to allow business entrepreneurs to develop application without going into nitty gritty of IT. So why should we bother about this low code, no code platform? So a recent report from Gartner reveals that 65% of all the applications that would be developed by 2024 would have originated from low code, no code platforms. Moreover, a report from Forrester revealed that $21 billion would be in expenditure by 2022 in these platforms. So why is there sudden upsurge in these platforms? There are many factors, to be honest, but I have recognized these four factors to be the most prominent, and these are: number one, rapidity of application development; number two, a huge shortage of developers; number three, agile digital transformation, which has become a necessity after COVID-19 situation; and easy maintenance. Let's move on to the market analysis and see how these platforms are performing in different markets. As you can see here, there are two prominent markets in the world currently, and these are North America and Asia Pacific. While North America holds the largest share by revenue, Asia Pacific is the fastest growing region in the coming decade, so we can't neglect it too. Let's deep dive into this region of North America and let's see What's the reason of this immense growth in this region? As you can see on your right side, market share of this region is 32%, which is a, a very big amount in itself. The three main leaders in this region are Mexico, Canada, and USA, where USA holds the largest amount of revenue, but Canada is going to be the fastest growing market in this region in the coming decade. The drivers of the growth are large smartphone user base, digital inclination of this region, and a huge spending in IT. Next up is Asia Pacific, which is the fastest growing region in the world. The CAGR, which is expected to be 27%, is the highest in the world. The prominent markets in the region are China, Japan, India, South Korea, and Australia. The main drivers of this growth are large number of technological hubs in this area, a huge smartphone user base, and automation in businesses. So what are the takeaways from these analysis? The startups, which are coming from Asia Pacific regions, have a large potential to become leaders in this market. Moreover, North America, which enjoys a lead in this race because of early adoption, has currently the largest number of companies serving in this region, serving in this domain. Let's move on to the market analysis by verticals. First up is banking and finance sector. Banking and finance sector is the strongest adopter of low-code, no-code platforms. By 2020, 30% of all the low-code applications developed were used in banking and finance sector. What is the reason for this sector taking up so fastly in this region is the enhanced flexibility, rapid prototyping ability, and reduced dependency on IT professionals. But there are some subtleties. There are poor securities and integration issues, which if dealt properly, can help the growth even more faster. Next is healthcare sector. As you all know, swelling demand in the healthcare application has enforced software developers to be used in medical facilities. But because of a serious shortage of developers, medical practitioners are forced to develop applications of their own. In these scenarios, low-code, no-code platforms are really useful as they allow to handle enormous amount of data which these institutions held to be handled easily. It also bridges the gap between engineering and the medical practitioners, which are generally considered to be the far ends of a string. In the end, it is the retail sector. So retail sector is a sector which is very customer centric. And as we all know, the requirements of the customers changes by day. So it is really required for the retailer to create application according to the need of customers. And in these lines, the low-code, no-code platforms makes it really easy and affordable to test various propositions about the market at very low cost. Next up, we answer what are the different qualities which a successful startup should have to be a leader in this region. They are security, citizen user-friendly, AI-based assistance. The problem which current startups are facing is the lack of security. The applications which are built through them are not as secure as they ought to be. So a new startup coming up, if is able to provide security at its best, is destined to become a successful startup. Second up is the user friendliness of the platform. So easier platforms are more likely to be taken up by citizen developers who prefer everything to be easier than incline more toward the coding platforms. And in the end, it is AI-based assistance. So a proper AI-based assistant could help a citizen developer to build better applications which have far more attention than anything else. And that's all from my side. I am open to any questions from my audience.
Very good presentation, Rishabh. Loved it.
Thank you
Aesthetic
so much,
wise,
Sundar.
it was just like using a no-code tool. Very good UI UX. So love that. and very thorough research on no code. Uh,
Thank you.
you took a very, very interesting topic. Kudos. Guys, please ask Rishabh questions on no code tools. I guess I have one before
Yeah.
anyone asks. Uh, so, as you're doing this research, have you played around with any no code tools yourself, and which is your favorite?
Uh, so I have used several of these while doing this research. You know as well that we were using a mm, and platform which is Airtable, which is in itself a low code no code tool. So it's basically a spreadsheet like thing which empowers the huge complexities of database. So AirMeet is one of the most useful thing which I found. And another thing which is very popular nowadays is Google Forms. So most of you must have used it. And Google Forms is another low code no code platform which allows user to form Google Forms, which are basically a source to collect data with minimal or zero coding actually. So yeah, these are some platforms which I feel would be the best in my view.
Definitely, I like the Airtable selection. Airtable can function as a database. There's actually websites where they're using Airtable in the database, right? They
Yeah.
call it AWC, where they use Airtable for the database. They use Webflow for front end, and they use Zapier to do all the logic and automations and function as middleware between the back end and the front end. So pretty interesting. The no code movement is special to me. In
Hmm.
fact, I have a product which is half no code, half full code. The app itself is built with Stack, and like the marketing aspects and the user interactions are completely no code with Webflow. So pretty interesting. I am a big proponent of no code, even though I have a master's in computer science. I would prefer not coding and breaking my head while trying to build things. Like I hate reinventing things.
Yeah.
So love it, Rishabh. I think yeah, if you want to say something.
No, that's it from my side. I think.
Lovely. Next, we have Rhythm, who will speak about marketing technology, and this would be the concluding. Actually, which app are you talking about? I'm talking about Airtable, Webflow. Oh, in terms of what I built. Okay, so next we have Rhythm.
I hope I'm
Okay, not very very audible. There's a little bit of disturbance.
just a second. Uh, is it fine now?
Yeah, much better.
Okay, so let me share my screen. Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so yeah. Good evening, everyone present here. My name is Rhythm Mata. I am third year undergraduate at IIT Ropar, majoring in chemical engineering. I am here to present on the topic marketing technology, popularly known as MarTech. So, starting with a brief introduction, MarTech is a set of tools and software that assist in optimizing marketing efforts to achieve goals and objectives of marketing. Unlike any other technology, MarTech is not only dependent on softwares and platform, it is also affected equally by correct operation and implementation of the solution. In this presentation, I would be covering about the current scenario of marketing technology, how MarTech has grown, what are the pain points of marketing technology, how is it distributed. Further, I would be including the COVID effect on which effect on MarTech, and what are the future predictions of marketing technology. Talking about the firms which have invested in MarTech solutions, they have kept 29% of their marketing budget for MarTech. Even in future, 62% of chief marketing executives or CMOs plan to increase the share further. At present, we have more than 8,000 active MarTech solutions. All that started from 150 in 2011. MarTech has a growth from more than 7,000 solutions in just 9 years. The graph shows how MarTech industries has shown steady development every year, except in the year 2019. The growth rate was reduced to 3%. Experts predicted that in that year, marketing industry has still improved. As in 2018, the amount of money allocated to marketing technology by CMOs was reduced to 22% from 27%. But in 2019, it was increased to 29%, which signifies the growth of marketing industry. The dip in the growth has significantly not affected MarTech market much, but instead has resulted in making the industry more deeper and complex. Now, what are the pain points of marketing technology? It was observed that most of the firms fail to adopt marketing technology properly due to these three challenges. Even 66% of marketing leaders agreed that their businesses are not mature when it comes to data. Thus, this will slow the AI adoption process. The data is the first and the most common challenge observed in marketing technology, as businesses should keep check on whether their data is sufficient or not, whether is it based on new and updated metrics or not. Too much of data can also create a chaos if they do not have data specialists or data scientists to deal with it. This is somehow related to skills, the second but a crucial hurdle of MarTech success. It is important for the company to train their employees according to technology they are going to adopt. Even they have to hire people which have expertise in the platform solution adopted. It was observed that 64% businesses fail to adopt MarTech due to lack of skills and expertise among its employees. The third challenge is the adoption of inappropriate solution. One business should adopt MarTech solution wisely that can give rise to innovation and also work in a longer run time. Next is how marketing technology is distributed. There are around 4,500 MarTech vendors globally, out of which more than 3,300 solutions are from USA itself. This symbolizes the level of expertise and skills among the citizens of the country. The rest distribution is as shown in the graph, placing UK at the second position with around 300 vendors, followed by Canada, Netherlands, Germany, France, so on. Now, how COVID has affected marketing technology? The crisis have reduced MarTech spendings for businesses. Even VCs have become more redundant to invest in startups. However, COVID has made businesses more tech inclined, which will definitely increase the demand for less expensive MarTech tools. Marketing technology is based on performance marketing, which will be valued more in the current recession. The pandemic has made firms to cut short their prices, and the domain of marketing has experiences many cuts this year. Most of the firms are cutting marketing expenses. However, this might turn into a big mistake in future. Many organizations do not consider marketing as an active driver of long-term sales, and thus want to cut their marketing investments to deal with the crisis. However, Moreover, this can help them to save for a short period of time, but what about the future? We cannot predict when this pandemic will end, but we need to survive this with a right and a long term approach. When everything will come back to track, firms which have cut their marketing sectors have to restart with new marketing teams and even focus on economy recovery at the same time. This will not end after just restaffing. The next hurdle will be to get into action. The new teams have to reestablish new plans, connect with new suppliers, and get into streamline. This would take weeks after COVID gap. It is estimated that businesses which stop marketing to save cost will suffer 39% loss in brand awareness, and this crisis will even make businesses more competitive. The better way out in the crisis is not to completely cut marketing teams. Rather, some firms can have kept their senior marketing advisors and leading marketing teams in function. This would, however, result in a better position than the companies with no marketing teams. Taking the future predictions of MarTech, the number of marketing segments are going to rise in coming years. Marketing is expected to revolve around messaging and experiences tailored to each and every individual. Marketing will become more tech driven, and there are possibilities and potential for micro segmentations to become more clearer. Marketing in future will collaborate with experience and product design as well. There will be a two-goal marketing. The role of marketers where will be to understand the present needs of their customers, and companies have to focus on what their customers require tomorrow. This capability is not for a marketing function, but this would be an integration of product and experience design functions. In future, partnerships and joint ventures are expected to increase. The businesses will become more connected, and this will develop new marketing technology ecosystem further. That's it from my side. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Great presentation. I like the work you put in into making all the slides so aesthetically pleasing. That's good effort. So I want to ask you one question. Now,
Thank you.
let's say as an individual, uh, have you adopted any marketing technology solutions yet?
As an individual, I don't think I have adopted currently.
Yeah, but do you think that trend will change? That's going to be my next question.
Yes, the trend is definitely going to change as talking about the present situation that due to this coronavirus situation, uh, the customers will change their views towards the services. They will definitely look for more different services, new businesses. They will try to get the business which will contact them in a better way, more individual way, more interactive way. They would definitely prefer that more over any other older solution, as things are now more digitally driven due to the situation. And
So, do you think individual buyers will start penetrating into the market? I'm not talking about companies. I'm saying, me as an individual, like take my company stuff aside. Maybe I start subscribing to marketing technology solutions. Maybe something that on Instagram or something that gets me more followers or something like that, which helps me build content that will get me more followers on Instagram or something. So
yeah,
I think that may happen, right? Like
yeah, this will
individuals may start.
yes, Instagram messaging, and these are more individual basis of marketing. And what I think things are going to be more individually driven in future rather than more company driven. So these things like Instagram and other social networking th- services will increase and will become a more adopted marketing tool in future.
That makes sense. So thank you so much, Ruben. That was a wonderful presentation. I think there's one more actually in the chat, which you might. What what is the
Sorry.
pricing of such solution?
The pricing, see, if the solutions are more individually driven, so definitely this pricing will be less. Even the solution, many solution at a certain level will be free because of the customers. The customers are definitely going to increase in future for marketing technology, and this will definitely reduce the price and even make some services free of cost. So yeah.
Makes sense. So I think let's call it an end to this. I think before the end of this event, probably I just want to share a product and a community-driven marketplace that we have been working towards, which will be launched fairly soon. Actually, never mind. I'm playing the wrong video. One sec. My screen. Show application window. Okay. Cool. Yep, that's it, guys. That was just a small unveiling of what's to come. Again, thank you everyone, each and everyone for joining, and once again, a big round of applause for everyone for the research. Amazing research through the last 6 weeks, and let's meet again tomorrow for day 3. And tomorrow will be the final session, and we'll also have a panel discussion where Mr. Varat from 100 Open Startups will have a note for founders, investors, enthusiasts, and Mr. Sanjay Kumar, who is a consultant to World Bank and also as a partner to Deloitte, adjunct faculty member at Duke University, will also be present tomorrow. So let's meet tomorrow, and thank you once again, guys.